Yeah, so good morning everyone. Let's start with our daily commentary. As you can see, we basically have the daily chart for Nifty. Now, just prior, a couple of days back, we were discussing the same agenda of something going structurally different. Now, if you see Nifty, first it was trying to go above 10,360, 370 odd mark, but faced continuous resistance at the upper level. So 10,400 is where resistance was seen, and then it goes down below our important mark, and then there was a gap down yesterday and a complete selling took place. Now, agreed that the gap down happened because of maybe due to the expiry kind of stuff. Also, the main agenda of gap down was back of the GDP news and stuff like that. Now we need to understand first event that is coming up is bank, that is RBI meet and Fed interest rates. So 6th and 12th. So if you look out at the calendar now, on December 6th we have our RBI, and then after that on 12th we have Fed, and 18th we have Gujarat election. Right. So let's note this down so that we now know for entire December what we are trying to target. So 6th we basically have RBI, 12th we have 12th is our Fed meet, and then we have 18th, which is Gujarat election. Okay, so these three are important events that is lined up, and then at the end of December I am basically putting expiry, saying that oil can breach higher levels. So oil on high levels of $70 plus, that will be one more event to watch out for. I'm looking at oil at December end because oil normally, natural gas and oil, due to winter seasons, the gas and this prices go up, and the usage is also more, demand is more. So generally it is seen that oil crosses high. Apart from that, there is no volume in US market at the end of December. So both of these can basically bring oil higher. Fed meeting, now RBI meeting. RBI, there will be no change in interest rates. So I am seeing banks to be weak. So banks cannot just climb high now. It will remain weak. Fed interest rates, what I understand from here, they are going to raise interest rates. So if they raise interest rate, dollar will become strong. So in our USD INR currency will become weak. So USD INR will become weak. IT and export segment, especially pharma, can basically work out good for them because USD INR might become weak. Apart from that, Gujarat election. Before going to the Gujarat election, if there is correction will reverse prior itself. Okay, so if before 18th, if we have a correction going into the election, it will reverse all the correction, anticipating a move or win for Gujarat. Now, all I know, at the end of expiry, a good fall can be expected in December again. Now, I would want Gujarat election to turn in BJP's favor, and then the market zooms all the time high, and then you can have correction in December itself. Right, so this will be our target. So let's focus one by one. First, let us try to understand RBI move and then Fed. Now, what I try to understand, so every week is an event week now in December. So December will be very crucial before ending the year. Where does Nifty go, and is there any big change in Nifty or not? Now, first thing which we saw yesterday, there was gap down and good selling took place. Now, let us again revisit our important levels. One important level which we had marked already, 10,250, 230 zone, and it basically has filled the entire gap. So, important level to watch out is 10,230, that is today's low of Nifty. If that gets breached, it is clear that 10,100 is on the cards. Okay, so roughly around downfall of 100 points more is easily possible on Nifty. Now, second thing which we need to remember over here, 10,150 and to the range of 10,100 is pretty much again a gap range where it can come and settle. Now, if you see over here, prior to this, there was gap up bullish formation which was there. So breaching these levels, 10,150 and 10,100, will not be easy for Nifty. So even if a follow-up selling comes by after Monday or Tuesday or so, because Bank Nifty will remain weak, it will come down, making Nifty go down to 150 odd levels. So we can find reversal happening from these levels itself. 10,150 now becomes an important check mark for Nifty to remain bullish. Okay, so if this goes away, then you have target of 9,700 straight away, right? So very important level, 10,150 to 10,100. So let us keep an eye on this, and it is clearly visible it can approach these levels because Bank Nifty will not provide support, right? So RBI meeting is there. There is no expectations. Bank Nifty cannot go up. If it goes down, it brings Nifty also down to 10,150 and 10,100 mark, right? So that's important level for us, and it has to take a reversal from these lines. Okay. Second thing which is important, even if Nifty now starts going up, it cannot breach the higher level or the gap down level which has been formed, which is around this 10,360 and 10,330 mark. So the prior resistance which is there still remains the resistance, and now a bigger resistance because of the gap down opening which happened yesterday, right? So we need to take that into consideration. Considering Bank Nifty now, as we saw, there was a very good support line which we had made, which was 25,680 kind of zone. Okay, so 25,680, 25,700 was so critical. Now if we see the follow-up selling apart from gap down, yesterday the gap down happened below the important line, right, which is basically below all the candles low which were there. So it was a clear indication at the time of expiry it was headed lower. It goes down now. Try to understand why it went down so steep and so fast. First, if you remember, there was a small spike which went down and it was taken back up, right? Now when there was a spike and it went down, it basically touched the prior high of these candles. And prior to that, these highs were basically tested by these candles. So once the test is done, it cannot keep testing the same highs of the candle again. So once this was tested, this was one, this was second time, this was also tested, and now when third time when it was coming, it was pretty much clear there will not be any support at these lines. Okay, hence you got a good amount of sell-off which took place. Now if you try to understand this sell-off of yesterday, why it did not turn out to be 600, 700 point sell-off? Because again there was a good gap up zone which was also formed over here. And if you see exactly the low of Bank Nifty is that particular gap, right? So the agendas of these gap are so important to understand, which basically acts like a good support levels for all these downside move or upside move which takes place. Now, the important point of Bank Nifty that we need to understand, I am not at all bullish on Bank Nifty. Number one, RBI meeting is coming up. There is no expectation, and we might find Bank Nifty going lower. Now, how lower we can assume Bank Nifty can go? If you see, Bank Nifty again will get into the same consolidated zone for this 25,250 to 25,000 mark, right? So there is no huge downfall in Bank Nifty as such, but yes, testing of 25,200, 100 or this range where the support is there is quite possible. If I go a little back, for me, important level is 25,100. Why? Because it was multiple resistance level where it opened gap up and it has tested twice. So for me, this range will become very, very critical. So if the Bank Nifty needs to now get support from this range itself, and it will head higher. Okay, so there is a small downfall in Bank Nifty of around 300 points or so, 250 to 300 points, and this will also bring Nifty lower. So if Bank Nifty comes to its support zone, Nifty also goes down to its support zone of 10,150. We can find a huge up move happening from these good support zones. Both Nifty and Bank Nifty will now enter in a good support zone on back of the events, which is not that important. RBI meeting, nothing great is happening. So you will find a good reversal after the meetings. So once the event is done, everything is done and dusted, you will find them coming to the support and then reversing. So this is how you need to understand now, at least next week, how it can go. Okay, So there can be a quick bounce back from these levels of 25,000 of Bank Nifty and from the levels of 10,150 to 10,100 for Nifty. Now seeing the upside, we have already cleared Nifty level of 10,360 where the entire gap has taken place. So there will be a stopping at those levels. It cannot just go high. It can open gap up above this 10,350 mark only if Gujarat election turns in our favor, right? So that is again important over here. Nifty, again, it will come down to its support zone of 25,100 or 200, and then it can go up. Now we need to understand if Bank Nifty goes up, idea is pretty much clear. The again bigger level of resistance, which was green acting like support, 25,700, will now act more like resistance. So we have noted our good point of resistance, which is at 25,700. So Bank Nifty cannot ever turn bullish if it doesn't conquer 25,700. So now we are pretty much clear about the structures and how we are going to play this particular month. So it's going to be 25,700 for Bank Nifty and 10,360 or 10,350 mark for Nifty. Okay, on the downside, we are trying to see Bank Nifty and Nifty going into a good support zone, very good support zone of 10,100, which is at the lower end, and for Bank Nifty, it is 25,250 or 25,000 range where it can find support. So these two things are important from Nifty and Bank Nifty point of view. Let's see today's day how it is panning out, especially if there are any losers or gainers of banks. So if I go and let's see the losers and the gainers section. So gainer, we clearly see Z coming out. That's fine. Apart from that, I see today Tata Motor, Maruti, Eicher Motor. So all the motor stocks are out because on back of the numbers, right? So auto numbers are going to be out by tomorrow or following up on Monday or so. So all the auto is showing some amount of strength, but if I see the banks are not there at all. ITC is also there, Ultratech, Ambuja from Construction Pack, they are there, but none of the guys from bank showing any kind of gain. Second, if you go down in the losers section, now losers, does bank come in the losers also? No. So it's basically being a range bound session for all the banks. None of the bank are in the gainer, neither the loser section. Now if I go and understand on the losing side, the losing side is again the commodity pack. So you have Hindalco, you have Coal India, so IOC, all these guys are there from commodity pack. Apart from that, Dr. Reddy is showing some amount of weakness, but rest, if you see nothing, good amount of selling is not been seen. Obviously, market is flat after such a good pause which it took yesterday, but follow up, good amount of move will not happen today. Okay, so we can not expect another 300-400 points fall on Bank Nifty. It's going to remain range bound session. All I now want to understand after understanding the structure of Nifty and Bank Nifty, let's go from Bank Nifty point of view, the only banks which are important. So if I see those banks where it had undergone a huge upside in the last expiry. So my agenda is pretty much clear. If I see SBI because of recapitalization, it has zoomed higher to all the levels. And if you see over here, there was a gap up selling and multiple highs were made around this 337 mark. Fine enough, it tries to go down, and because of yesterday gap down, again it opens gap down at 325 and it is still over there. If I see SBI, there's a clear indication of 310 on the cards for SBI. So 310, 305 can easily be reached on SBI. So that is one counter where selling pressure will be there. Now try to understand, prior in the last expiry there was a good up move, and in that up move there were large amount of shorts which were basically trapped over here, and then they basically were out at the time of expiry. Now if you see SBI crashing a bit at least to 310, 3% fall in SBI is a given target, and we can find such amount of selling easily. If you are trying to buy a put option, you can obviously attain 310 in no time. When I see other banks like Axis Bank, in the Axis Bank also the same story had happened. Right from down it zoomed up, made fresh lifetime high, and then you found good amount of selling coming by. And yesterday, because of the expiry, again it went down, it came to its good support zone. So obviously Axis Bank will find good support at 534 because of multiple levels have been formed around those levels of 534. One thing which is important that you need to understand, Axis Bank might come up in this gap zone, and if it again comes down and test 533 levels, there is quite a big downfall in Axis Bank, which is equally possible. So I am seeing if I get some trade or reversal around this 545, 546 levels, a straight away of 523 is there on the cards. And if this level gets broken, 533, a good downside is also possible in Axis Bank. So Axis Bank, SBI both were up in last series, and the last is ICICI Bank, which also had the same swing from the downside after a good amount of shorts were stuck over here. Huge upside, went up. The same logic goes for ICICI. It opened gap up, filled the gap, maintained the same high, and then the selling came by. And yesterday there was a continuous sell pattern which was formed. Now all you need to understand over here, the sell pattern which is formed basically brings ICICI into a good support zone. Okay, so there is no big downside for ICICI, but I can find weakness in SBI and Axis Bank. So it's a good support zone for ICICI. Apart from that, we know the selling pressure is there around the 315 mark. Multiple sell levels have been formed in ICICI and there is good selling. So ICICI cannot remain too weak because of the support zone it is trying to achieve there. So no big downside in ICICI. But Axis and SBI can find a little bit of downside of 3% each, which is easily likely. So ICICI has undergone from 330, it has a target of 303. So there is good amount of selling which has already taken place, right? So it can find some kind of sideways movement. Let's take some private banks. So let's say if it is Yes Bank, which is being corrected a lot, is it finding some kind of reversal or no? So if I see Yes Bank, yes, it did fall. It tried to reverse even yesterday because of the move. All I see on Yes Bank, which is very important, it is in the gap zone now. Okay, so this gap is there for Yes Bank, which can form a good support range. So I'm not bearish on Yes Bank, but yet not bullish on Yes Bank though, because this is the level of resistance 317 for Yes Bank. So it has to maintain this gap, should not fill the gap, try to reverse above 315, 317 to become bullish. So till then we are not bullish on Yes Bank also. IndusInd Bank seems to be stronger among all the pack, because if I see IndusInd Bank after a fall, a double bounce took place, gap up had happened over here for IndusInd Bank around the levels of 1620 or so, and then we are finding multiple resistances in IndusInd Bank. Okay, but it is trying to inch higher. So I would basically understand or basically see IndusInd Bank on a good footing. It can come down, it will test the gap again, and we can find a good reversal for IndusInd Bank to 1750. Right, so IndusInd Bank seems to be a little stronger than Yes Bank. Let's see Kotak Mahindra Bank, what he has to offer. When I see Kotak Bank, the correction was far and deep, bringing it down to 980 odd levels. And if I see over here after 980 yesterday, selling took place, came down. So all I need to understand whether these levels will be breached or will it find good amount of support or not. But on the downside for Kotak Bank is not there. We can find good reversal along these points around 980, 965. So wait for a good correction, decent correction in Kotak, and you can find. So apart from all the banks, I think first is IndusInd Bank, second is Kotak, and third is your Yes Bank for the up move for Bank Nifty. Last, HDFC Bank. So if I go out and see HDFC Bank, it is already trading at high. It has not undergone a correction. So this is what we need to understand. A good amount of buying has taken place in HDFC Bank after the sell-off which we have seen. So it comes back up, finds the same support, and then goes high. If you remember, this was something called as gap down bullish, which has happened, and it comes back and does not even reach below. It again goes gap up and swings higher. Now I'm not yet bullish on HDFC Bank making a fresh 52-week high or so, because Bank Nifty is not going to make 52-week high. So I'm bearish on HDFC Bank, and it can bring HDFC Bank back to the levels of 1820 or 1800 odd levels where the gap up was taken place or the rally had taken place. Now all I see over here, there is a good amount of support at 1840, but then you can find good selling coming below 1840 also, right? So we need to keep that in mind for HDFC Bank. Now seeing from Nifty point of view, I think from bank, if HDFC cracks, ICICI also remains range bound, SBI and Axis Bank goes down. I don't see any reason why bank Nifty cannot go down by 100, 200 points. So 200, 300 points on bank Nifty is a cakewalk. And if it goes down, as we are trying to understand, it will come in that support zone, right, of 25,100 kind of range. And then this whole thing will happen prior to RBI meet. Once RBI is done, everything is done, it comes into the support zone, and then we can find reversal to 25,700. So we can make some option strategy, let him come down in the support regions, and then once the RBI meet is done, then we can go out and do something. See, one thing which is very clear in options, do not try to do anything prior to the event. Okay, it is always better to understand what will happen and then do prior to the event. So we were bearish on Bank Nifty the entire November series. Try to understand, it did not go, and only on the last day it went below this important resistance mark. Okay, so we need to also understand that if it was bearish only for a day, it does not keep going down. So the markets are not tumbling. A US market is making high, and then this is happening in Bank Nifty. It is basically a one-off kind of event. RBI, once it gets done, it will go down further and then it can bounce back. So we would always look to be bullish on the lower leg now in the first 15 days of December. Try to understand, I'm not trying to be bullish, I'm trying to be bullish till first 15 days of December, because till there your RBI meeting gets done and then you're getting prepared for Fed. Now before the Fed meeting, you might find a pause in S&P and it might give away some amount of its gain, providing pressure to Bank Nifty and Nifty over here. So if I'm bullish over here, okay, so let's make some assumptions which we did even prior to the expiry, and it does make sense. What I'm trying to say over here, it can come down into its good support zone, okay, and it can find a good up move which is possible, but the point which we need to understand is this particular range. Okay, so if I'm trying to understand, if it comes up over here, obviously it's going to find some kind of resistance at this 25,700 and 25,800. So if you want to make a bull spread, obviously your spread needs to be between this. So if it goes down to 25,000 and you make a spread of 25,200 to 25,700. Okay, so A, it is bearish, you are being bullish, so you'll get call options at a cheaper rate. And apart from that, you cannot do a bear ratio, you're standing in second week or first week, right? So we are just trying to buy 25,200 or 300 and sell 25,700, and that's it. So we are waiting for it to reverse and go higher. Once it goes higher and reaches back to its resistance zone, our spread is done and we are out of the Bank Nifty prior to anything happening. Anything happening means prior to the event of Fed. So the trade has to be from 6th to 12th, okay, where it will come down, it will form a reversal and we are out of the trade. So once our target is reached, we are out, and then the Fed meeting comes into action, and again you can find selling coming by from the resistance zone. Then we are entering into a Gujarat election kind of scenario. If the correction comes from this resistance level, it will come down and then further up. What can happen is, from these levels I see correction coming down, let's say up to here, because of the Fed meet. Okay, after the Fed meet, try to understand what will happen. After the Fed meet, Gujarat election will be in place, and again it can open, gap up, and BJP wins. It zooms up on the higher level. The same thing will happen for Nifty as well, right? So the same agenda holds true for Nifty also. If it bounces back, it will reverse from the resistance zone and then it will go up. Now 3 events are there. Try to understand. This is what I'm trying to say again and again. First is your RBI meeting. Prior to the meeting, it will go down, and after the meeting, it can go up. Then it is Fed. Because of Fed, there will be resistance. S&P will be down, and then it can come down back because this is also entering into the resistance zone. Once the Fed meeting is done, we are entering into Gujarat election. Prior to Gujarat election, the euphoria can set in, and again it can reach higher. Okay, and if it wins, it will open straight away gap up above 25,800 mark. This is what you should understand. Even same thing will apply for Nifty. It will open all-time high and it will zoom higher. Now the only thing, the best trade out of all this scenario is one. If it goes down, RBI meeting is done, we know it will zoom back to its resistance zone. So the first trade that you can take for this month is from this 25,000 mark to 25,600, 700 mark. Number one. Number two, do not do anything between these two events because we do not know what's going to happen in Gujarat election. Okay, so let's forget about Gujarat election. Let everyone be happy if the results are in their favor. It will go up, it will zoom high. That is in 18th of December. So that is in the third week. So let everything go high. Okay, when it reaches to certain higher levels, we can make our bear ratio once again. Okay, and then we wait for our expiry turn. It can give away all the gains, which is easily likely. Okay, so we can make huge money again in the last week of December trade, and we need to hold that trade till the expiry, right? So this is there in my mind, and I think it seems a little logical and how to play these events. So it is always better to be out of the events. Don't try to be inside the event trying to guess this will happen, that will happen. It will not give you money. Okay, so let things settle down and then you take your trade. It will always work out. So this is what we are planning out for entire December. And my take is this last move in the expiry, if oil goes up, okay, US is already shut. The Gujarat election were in their favor and has taken Nifty all-time high. The reversal is quite possible, and that reversal can give you a huge amount of money. Okay, the spread that we had done on Bank Nifty obviously did not work out, but if you see the spread when we were trying to understand or make, if this fall of yesterday, if it would have come on Monday, let's say 4 days prior, if this same fall would have come over here, a follow-up selling would have brought Bank Nifty to 24,700. Okay, and we would have made huge killing in our ratio spreads. So idea is, yes, the correction came a little late, but if it would have come, 1,000-point fall is easily possible in Bank Nifty, and we have seen that prior. So this is how you need to frame your trades. Select your trades where the large amount of upside is in your favor. So if this did not turn up in our favor, I did not lose anything. That is the biggest game. I'm not losing anything. I played the game, and if I would have won, I would have made good amount of money. Right? So always try to get those trades which are more predictable and it has a huge upside in your favor. So for us, two trades are there. One, we look for prior to RBI, it will come down and try to swing up. Resistance will be over here, and then the Gujarat election and the Fed meeting comes over here. It can keep dancing between this zone, and after the Gujarat election, if everything sets right, it will go high. Okay, and then we again become bearish. So 2 points here, we are trying to be bullish, and if it goes all-time high at the end of December, we are trying to be bearish. We will also put the pivot points just to understand the higher resistance levels so that we can keep that also in mind. So if I put pivot points, so basic standard pivot point to understand. So from so let me remove this. Okay, fine. So if I'm trying to understand the entire pivot point, so the important pivot point for next month is over here, but the upper resistance is around this 25,800 mark. Okay, so that is our high any which ways. So we do not care much about it. All I am trying to understand, the first resistance might be breached because of the back of election, 25,800. It will zoom high. All I need to understand, it will go there to 26,300, right? So if everything goes in their favor, the upside for Bank Nifty is 25,600, 26,300 to 26,400, and we can find reversal at the time of expiry, right? So if 26,400 is there on the cards, I think there is an easy fall of 600 to 700, which is bringing the bank nifty back to these levels. Okay, one, and this is the second one where it is standing there. So try to understand the entire move which can happen if things happen our way, the way we are trying to think. Gujarat election, it can reach to 26,200, and after that, at the time of December expiry, a good fall at least to the same level of 25 to 250 is possible. So again, 26,200, 300 coming back down to 25,200 is possible, and we can make a bear ratio in this region, right? Or if the second stand is, if it goes higher, not even to 26,300, 400, let's say it goes to 26,600 or so, which is also possible. Okay, and then there is a clear indication that this rise from 25,250 levels to 26,600 levels can at least come down to these levels of 26,700. Okay, so all in all, I'm not trying to be very bullish, because the entire crowd will be bullish over here, okay, at the time of expiry. And after this fall or shake off, it's going to take like a rocket launch pad, and what will happen at the end is what I'm trying to game. Okay, in this kind of falls of 600 points in bank nifty is cakewalk at the time of expiry. When you saw yesterday, 300 points were taken out. So I am in the mood that at least 600 points can be taken out from higher levels. So 25,600 say agar 600 points, yeah, 800 points are down, you are coming back over here. If 26,200 or 300, 400 is there, and you remove 600 points from here, again you're coming back to this 25,400 kind of zone, right? So all said and done, in last week of expiry, my bear ratios will be cheaper, everyone will be bullish, I will be bearish, and the upside will be huge, right? So we are trying to target these kind of trades. Okay, so this will be the entire flow for the month of December, panning out as per the event. So this is how you should understand the events and place your trades. Again, I'm trying to repeat, in the entire December, we are making only 2 trades. One is before, after RBI meet for a quick bounce back. Second, at the time of December expiry, not now. Fine. So that's it for the day. We'll set this tone, and then we'll keep working on these which spreads we need to take throughout the month of December. So thank you for joining in, and have a good weekend.